I have fucked up so much in my life. You wouldn't believe how many times I've done so many mistakes, so many fuck ups that sometimes I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? Sometimes I say to myself, I could have done something completely different. I could have done this better. I could have done that better. But I realize that when I tend to get myself into that mindset, into that headspace, I tend to sometimes find regret. And regret isn't a good thing. You shouldn't sit here and look back on your life and with regret and feel like, you know I did this, I should have done it like this, or I should have done it like that. And I feel like that a lot on this one aspect of my life. And that's this video that I want to make about. I want to make this video to my younger self on dating. It's because look, I've made a mistake, I would say, because I went into my first ever relationship. So a little background story. I was pretty lonely in a stage of my life. I was trying to I was on NoFap, doing this, working on my fitness journey, working on some small businesses, nothing really kicking off. This was online basic bullshit, nonchalant stuff. But I got into a stage where I was like, I was a virgin and I was like, fuck, I need to lose my virginity because I consumed a lot of social media. And it says a lot of people say that being a virgin it's not wrong, but it's wrong in a sort of sense, which I'll get back to that later in the video. However, I thought of this and I was like, dude, I need to lose my virginity. So, long story short, I hooked up with this girl, my first ever time, and I was expecting it to be better, put it that way. After everything, I don't want to go into details, but after everything, I was driving home and I was like, this isn't as I wasn't as happy as I thought I would have been. There was some regret filled in there. There was some confusion. There was some what the fuck did I just do? I experienced this whole new thing with someone who I just didn't have a clue was. Just this random girl I met through Snapchat. And long story short through that, I got into a relationship with her. Even though I knew her past, I knew everything. She literally told me everything, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna get into a relationship with you because I genuinely don't want to talk shit about this girl because everything that happened, I take full responsibility for it. I knew what was happening. I knew what happened, and my stupid brain said, let's go get into a relationship. So I would say I did a fuck up because, it's I'm going to use this analogy is you do not go shopping when you're hungry. You'll grab the wrong items. The same thing as you don't go shopping into a relationship for a girl or whatever when you're lonely because you will pick out the wrong one. The reason I say this, I'm not saying she was a bad person or anything. She just we weren't really compatible. The sense compatible is there were moments, but there were moments where I was like, this girl bored me. There was never an actual good connection with this girl where we could just sit down and talk for hours at a time, and I was, be genuinely interested in her because she wasn't very intelligent. She wasn't very smart. She kind of was beta. But the reason I'm saying this and my advice to you is, I see so many people going into relationships, going into this chasing validation, seeking attention. And that's the biggest mistake you can do, is when you chase validation, when you seek something that maybe shouldn't be there yet, you tend to fall into like a rabbit hole. So for me, I fell into a toxic relationship that I shouldn't have been in. And the reason I'm saying this is, if I was that age again, I would have picked the different girl. I'm not saying she was bad, but I'm saying I would have picked the different one, meaning someone that I was actually more compatible with and someone that I enjoyed spending time together. Now, I'm not saying you have to get into a relationship. I myself, through going through different stages of my life, realized that a relationship isn't something I want or need at the moment. And it's because I'm on my self-improvement journey. I'm genuinely working very hard because I know that I'm going to succeed. I know my destination. I know what I'm trying to achieve here. And a relationship personally for me is just going to slow me down. It's not something that I want, and it's not entirely what I need. And I literally just found this out by going into a relationship, fucking up so much that I ended up breaking up with her because I knew this girl wasn't it. I knew she wasn't not good enough for me, but basically, yeah, she wasn't good enough for me. And I was like, fuck this. So I ended it. And ever since that, I've been so happy, like, after I ended breaking up with her. So my advice to you, my advice to my younger self would be, if you don't know what you want, if you don't know if you want a girlfriend, if you don't want a girlfriend, if you want to go into a relationship, if you're confused, don't go. It's the same like university. If you don't know what you're going to do, don't go to uni, because you're going to spend a lot of time, you're going to waste time on 4 years, 5 years of your fucking life in your prime age doing jack shit, fucking studying biology. So don't do it. And your argument towards me is going to be, but you can always back out of a relationship. You can go there for 2 weeks and it didn't work out. I would argue, us men, sometimes when you're not I'm not going to say trained, but when you don't know how to control these emotions yet, you can get attached very easily. And you're going to stay in that relationship. I stayed in this relationship for a whole year. And it's genuinely because I don't know how to control these emotions. I was attached to this girl, I fell in love. And the reason I'm saying fell in love, it's because it was my first relationship. I didn't really know what love was. So what I thought was love wasn't initially love. So you go through this and then you end up, fuck, this girl isn't worth it. She's not worth my time. I don't want to be with her. So you end up breaking up with her and you've wasted a lot of time. You wasted time, you've wasted energy that you put into this woman that didn't deserve you initially. Look, for me, I learned a lot from this, but also my trajectory of life could have gone way higher. Maybe if I never got myself into this relationship, but I'm not going to sit here and think, what could and couldn't have happened, because it happened. And in a way, I'm grateful it did, because it taught me a lot of things in life. It pushed me to where I am now, where I should be. And I've realized where my life trajectory is and where I'm actually trying to go, what I'm trying to achieve. So I would say that, your first relationship, it tends to be like a test, like a start. You're just testing the water. You're trying to see where it's going to lead, what it's going to happen. And I want to just quickly mention that when I did get into this relationship, it's your first relationship. You lose your virginity. You have to realize that after losing your virginity, there's this lust in you that just wants more and more and more and more and more. And if you don't fill these desires with, let's say, your purpose or some sort of deep work that you're mentally working on, you're A, gonna resort to cheap sex, B, you're gonna resort to pornography and adult content, which will make you addicted, which will make your relationship even worse, because when you do have sex with a girl, there's genuinely gonna be no connection. Look, I'm speaking from experience. I fucked up in this sort of way, is that, I might expose myself here, but I hope you can take something out of this and learn for yourself, is that when I was in my first relationship, there never was any deep connection. There was no connection over sex, because sex is supposed to be like a loving thing where you build connection, you build releases a bunch of oxytocin, love hormone, which means like the two bodies are like combining together, making like one. And when you don't know this and you just have cheap sex, there's no connection, which means there's not really much enjoyment. Because when you just have sex to have sex, a lot of people don't realize until they actually do it. It's not that enjoyable. When you're having sex with a girl just to, I don't know, ejaculate your seed or do something, it's not that fun. You ejaculate and then you look at her and you're like, you question your life decisions. And it shouldn't be like that. And I've experienced this with my ex-girlfriend. We do it, and then when it came to ejaculating, you do it, alright? And then I'd just look at her and I'd be like, why the fuck did I do this? Like, it's not I don't want to do this with this person. And I've only realized that recently, is when, some other things happen in my life, which I'm not going to go into detail because it happened with someone and I don't want to put it on here, let's say it that way. But what I realized is, when you actually have sex with someone that you genuinely want, like you feel a connection, you feel you guys are compatible, nothing else matters, because it's you and this person. And whatever happens, you ejaculate, blah, there's no regret, there's nothing, because you want to do it. This person, like, you feel some sort of connection with this, this person you're with, and it should be like that. That's what a relationship should be like, is you genuinely feel this connection with this person. You can talk with him. You can, enjoy yourself with them, have fun time, and build this connection, build this moment. Make it last, as long as you want. I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about genuinely, like, being with this person, having this connection built. But when you resort to cheap sex, the biggest side effect that you're going to resort to is pornography. You fall into a hole where you watch porn, you consume porn, and you feel disgusted. You feel like shit because you've lost your virginity. You maybe had sex with a girl, but now you fell into a pornography addiction. So you basically just fuck yourself over. And to this, I've made a full guide on NoFap. It's basically like less fap, is where you don't just quit an addiction. You can't just, snap of your finger, quit an addiction. You have to deload the addiction. You have to take off weight to put more back on. Meaning, you watch less and less and less porn every day until maybe you watch it once a week, once a month, and then you just fully get off it. You don't need it anymore. So this is the concept that I'm teaching in my school. So there's the top link in the description if you want to join that. Now, another topic I want to cover, which I wish my younger self would have known, is the truth is, my younger self was like, at the start, I was like, it doesn't matter if you're a virgin. No one cares, realistically, I wish it wasn't like this. I wish, I wish a lot of things weren't like they are, but life doesn't work that way. Life is completely different, so we need to learn and adapt to it for it to work. And this is being a virgin. Now, you might hear people saying it's okay to be a virgin. In a way, it is. It's fine. But then if you want to maybe like become more red-pilled and go sleep with more girls, you will find out that girls don't want a virgin. They don't want someone who's learning shit. They want an experienced guy who can have fun while giving them fun at the same time, if you know what I mean. So basically, I thought, being a virgin's fine, until you realize that most of the world is literally like, virgins are bad. Now, I'm not saying you have to go have sex. That is not what I'm saying. My whole point that I'm trying to make here is virginity is pure and everything cool, but in this basically fucked up world we live in, girls don't want a virgin. They want someone who's had experience and that can give that to them. So the harsh truth is, you just wanna, you need to know what you're doing. Put it that way. Because a lot of people say, being a virgin's fine, being this is fine, It is. I'm not saying it's not. But if you if you want to be more red-pilled, excuse me, if you want to be more red-pilled and go down that line where maybe you don't want to go into a relationship like me, you don't want to go into anything serious, you just want to have fun, build some short connections of something, then yeah, you will want to be experienced. And my younger self was like, no, you know what, I'm going to wait for the right one. I'm going to wait for the right one and then, go marry, have kids, blah, blah, blah. I wish life worked like that, I really do. But it doesn't. It really doesn't, and that's why the divorce rates are so higher, because women, if women said what they wanted and that was true, life's easy. They want the nice guy, supportive guy who looks after them, blah, blah, blah. Sweet. Then why the fuck are divorce rates so high? Because the girls actually want someone different. They want someone who's gonna evoke so many emotions in them, have a fun time with them, but also not be too overly invested into them, where the girl is more invested than the guy. Look, some girls might see this and say, I don't know what I'm talking about, but neither do they. And I do, because I've experienced this and I've learned this. I've listened to countless amounts of podcasts that explain this whole situation. Look, if only, you ask a woman, what do you do? What do you want to do? She doesn't know. So you give her an option. We'll do this or this. I don't know. Blah, blah. I just don't know. So then you go do something. You just tell her, do you want to go do this? No. Okay, fuck it. We're going to go do this. And she just goes with you because they don't know what they want to do. Yes, some might do. But a lot of women, they don't know what they want in a relationship. So the more you just think of, hold on, I'm going to do what I want to do first. And through that, it'll be a different dynamic, because you want the masculine, feminine dynamic. The guy is always above the woman. I don't give a fuck what you say. When they like, not paralyzed, when they go horizontal like this, alright, this is the man, this is the woman, the relationship starts to get a bit boring, not fun, and especially when this happens. So the guy's below the girl, the girl wears the pants of the relationship, the guy doesn't have a say in what to do, then the roles get switched and the guy starts to become more feminine, and the lady has to take care of the house, she has to take care of the bills, take care of this, take care of that. So much more responsibility is going on her, and the guy is just sitting there relaxing, fucking having a fun time, or maybe not, being fucking depressed. So you always want the dynamic where the guy is higher than the woman. And you do this by doing whatever the fuck you want and not overly investing into her. Because I made this mistake. My first relationship, I invested a lot of time into her at the start. And I was like, I saw that the dynamic wasn't as good. And then later on, when I started giving a lot less shits, I was just doing more what I wanted. I was more busy doing work. I saw she was starting to chase me more and more and more. You know, she was too needy. She just needed the shit. She needed something from me, some validation to get her sorted for the day. I didn't need anything. I was completely fine all alone, but she just was pulling at something. She needed my attention. So to get to that aspect, you have to have this dynamic. And my younger self, my younger self was pretty stupid. He thought that women and men, in a way, not should be equal. You've always got the masculine dominant guy and then the feminine submissive woman. But to get to that situation, you have to really go through, like, guy takes care of everything. He does. Wife, blah, blah, blah. She cooks, cleans, submissive to him. This, you might have it differently added out, but at the end of the day, you do want this relationship dynamic. And since you're, gonna go into this and it's gonna be a serious thing, the guy needs to have not a lot of things, but he needs to be financially free. He needs to be financially off well, probably living by himself, doing all this stuff, have a car, have a job, work for himself, be jacked, be masculine, dominant. At this young age that we're in, when guys are dating at 14, 15, it's not gonna happen. So my advice to my younger self is date maybe for fun. Don't go into anything serious, because when you do, you lose that sort of motivation. You lose that sort of drive that's been fueling under your ass this whole entire time. Don't go into it, because you're not gonna get what you want out of it. It's gonna waste your time in the long run. So if you want, go out there, have fun, do this stuff, but don't overly invest. And of course, there's going to be a lot of things where emotions play a big role in this part, but you have to learn to control your emotions, because you're a guy, okay? You're a guy. No one actually gives a fuck about you. I'm just going to tell you straight away now. No one cares about you. Literally no one. So control your emotions, because a man when he can't control his emotions is a dangerous man. Control your emotions. Become the best possible self you can by working on yourself, all right? If you're with a girl, work on yourself. Your purpose comes first. I don't give a fuck what you say. Your purpose comes first. She comes second. Because you want to have this relationship dynamic if you are going into a relationship. If you're not, still work on yourself. Girls will come and go in your life. Brotherhood stays. Work on that. Like, I try to make this whole video about my younger dating advice to myself. So if you've gotten this far, mad respect to you for watching however long this is going to be of unedited video. But don't go into a relationship. That's my advice to my younger self. You might listen to it, you might not. It doesn't matter. But my advice to my younger self is don't go into a relationship, because she's probably not worth it. And it's going to cost you a lot of time. It's going to cost you a lot of headaches to learn something that you can learn from someone else's mistake. Of course, you have to go through your own mistakes to learn, but I'm trying to teach you this, that you not necessarily have to go through what I had to go through. Stay strong, brother. See ya. Peace out, G.